Welcome everyone to another episode of the Coach's Box, where we're supporting Peter Baines running 1,400 kilometers in Thailand for Hands Across Water. Today we're very privileged. We've got Timothy Franklin on here, who's going to share his experience and point some light to what Peter might be going through, and also assist those listening today. So Timmy Franklin, he's a true testament to human endurance, grit, and pushing beyond what you think is possible, for sure. I know personally, I definitely don't know anybody who has run across the globe. So I'm sure those listening, I'm sure that would be a very rare occurrence to meet someone who's done that. And we're really happy to have you on here, Timmy. Timmy's an adventurer, a globetrotter, and he took on that huge mammoth challenge of running around the world. And that's 5 continents, 17 countries, 576 days of running in total. Am I right with those stats there, Timmy?
Yeah, I think it was 19 countries, but yeah, the other are right. Yeah, 26,500 Ks. Yep.
19 countries. Yeah, and like I'd imagine that's a lot of different terrains and weather and conditions and all sorts of things. So I can't wait to sort of dive into this with you today, Timmy. But yeah, firstly, just want to ask you who you are and sort of what made you want to jump into such a huge challenge. So, yeah, I'll let you introduce yourself, Timmy.
Yeah, well, I'll try and keep it brief. Born and bred Brisbane, living in Brizzy now. Haven't always been an adventure seeker, an athlete, a runner. I'm what one would consider a typical weekend warrior. I was sort of really athletic at school, I suppose. Played all the sports, really loved it, and then through like uni, probably stopped playing. Got into the party scene a little bit too much, I suppose, and neglected health and wellness probably too much. But then once I graduated from uni and have a legal career, I started running again, getting fit again. That was 2004, 2005. And then I got into triathlons, fell into triathlons, was doing triathlons for the best part of, say, 10 years, probably 5 years taking it relatively seriously. And then a friend of mine was interested in doing an ultra marathon. So I did a 250 kilometer sort of 5-day adventure out across the Simpson Desert. And that was my first foray into ultra running. And then when I was on that run, I actually met the only other Aussie to have run around the world. He was sitting behind us on the plane out to the race. So it was fate, I suppose, brought me to my adventure. But yeah, I definitely, it's a well-worn path, someone that neglected their health and wellness and fitness for a time whilst they were focusing on a career. And then I just made a point to really focus on it. I just love it as well. I love the feeling I get from pushing myself to what my best and what my levels are. But then the people I've met along the way, the places I've been to and seen, and the opportunities it's done has been remarkable. And obviously that culminated with the World Run, which I started in December of 2022 and was lucky enough to finish it the 30th of June this year. Yeah, as you said, a 576-day journey and a hell of a ride. The highest of highs, the lowest of lows along the way. But I guess if I just sum me up into like one sentence, if you will, is I'm just a weekend warrior that loves it, I suppose. So like there's no necessarily any natural talent. I just try and work as hard as I possibly can to be the best that I can be at any endeavor that I choose, to be honest.
That's a pretty sensational weekend warrior right there. So I'm interested in the conversation that you had with the guy who has done the world, and I'm sure that sparked inspiration and everything. We have those thoughts like, oh, we want to go and do that thing, and then that sort of passes, or maybe you're in that serotonin like overload and dopamine overload out there doing that ultra run. Like, how did that stick with you? It sounds like you just followed through all the way. What really motivated you there?
Yeah, I guess the whole time, any time I've gone from literally when I first started running again after years of not sort of doing any sort of fitness, I just said I was going to do it, and then I did it. And I guess that impulse has been the whole time, and that's probably how I lead my whole life, and that's a dangerous way to live for everyone. But for me, it sort of works. So I'll take the new job, I'll enter the race, and I'll talk about it for a little bit, but I'll just do it and then figure out a way to get it done. And I think that's worked really well for me, and I'm going to assume that it can work really well for everyone because I'm really lucky now. I do a lot of public speaking, keynote speaking, and I talk about achieving goals, and most goals aren't achieved because people never start. Right,
Yeah.
that's the number one stopper of goals being completed. Goals are never started. Well, I don't attempt to start them; I just start them, and I think that's what everyone should do. So that's what I do, right? And yeah, when I met Tommy, so Tom Dennis is the guy's name that done it. I was like, yeah, that's cool. I want to go on an adventure. I want to go see the world. I love to run. Let's combine it, and let's go and do it. And I guess once I set it in stone, or at least had the idea and told people and made myself accountable to others, that I was just there was no way I was never going to start. Whether I would have finished or not, who knows? But yeah, I always say I'm going to do something, and then inevitably start it.
I think that's a mammoth of a effort just to get to that start line to begin with, I'm sure, for a lot of people to actually commit to it. But yeah, it sounds like there's some real strategy in there for people listening, and that's be too much in your head, I'm gathering, and just kind of jumping into it. And it's interesting you saying that. So you kind of jumped in and then you kind of worked it out as you went. So what did that look like when you kind of got to that start line and you're about to embark and running across the world?
Yeah, so we had put a plan in place of how far I was going to run each day, which towns I was going to run from and to, just using like Google Maps and whatever, just to map out. Obviously, so I was the eighth person to have done it. So seven people had done it before me. So I sort of looked at their route and which way they went. A couple went completely different directions that were possible for me. So obviously they weren't going to be followed. So we had a really rough guide, but that's what it had to be because so many things are outside of your control. So I stood on the start line in Brisbane at Southbank Parklands, and I've never been more nervous in my life. Right, I was shitting myself to be honest. Because I had no idea. Like I could have run that day and got injured. Like who would know? But again, harping back to not starting things or not setting off is a lot of people's ego gets in the way, and not necessarily a bad thing, but people worry too much about what other people think of them or what's going to happen. Whereas I was like, well, I'm doing this for me. It's an intrinsic motivation. I want to just go on an adventure, and the only way I'm going to know if I can finish it is if I start it. So I was really nervous. We had so much going on. There was obviously a lot of people there, a lot of media there, and so a lot of friends and family. It was actually really overwhelming. But yeah, once we got going, and then we flew to New Zealand day two. So we ran in Brisbane day one, ran to the airport day two. We flew to New Zealand, and that's when it sort of hit that this was on, and it was I was really lonely for the first sort of 7-8 days because I'd gone from all these people around Brisbane, my hometown, to no one on a road in a country that I don't know at all well. I knew a few people over there, which was awesome. A lot of people came and helped me, but yeah, so there was these pangs of loneliness, but still the nerves were still there about, what are you doing? Can you do this? But eventually I was just like, well, I'm in it now, and I've had the courage to start. Whether I make it or not, who cares? Let's just go as hard and as long as I can, to be honest.
Do you think like not having those expectations and not thinking like too much ahead helped you with that, or is there anything you do differently strategy wise, or are you happy with that how that kind of
No,
eventuated?
yeah, great question. I definitely wouldn't. I was so in my head about numbers, and because I was chasing at the start, I was chasing the world record. I wanted to be the fastest. So it was all numbers based. It was, I need to do this, I need to be here, we have to get there. And I think in hindsight, if I was to do it again, I would have that goal, but that wouldn't be the lead driver. I'm just going to run until I'm over it today, and I'm just going to enjoy it, be more present. I think I was so focused on other things, I didn't enjoy the experience enough, and that's probably the whole 576 days, to be honest, and where I just didn't. Only very few times did I probably step back and go, "This is pretty cool." Like wow, we look where I am, look at the views, like, and I wish I'd done it more, but when you're in it, like anything, it's a grind, and I was trying to find that joy in the grind as much as we could.
We look at all the like the smiles and the accolades and all of that stuff, but I think The whole enjoyment factor, that's emphasized so much that we've got to have that intrinsic motivation and enjoy what we do, which is definitely correct. But then I guess normalizing that, you don't enjoy every single day. So how did you get through those? So I mean, you had that intrinsic drive of like adventure, and you knew why you wanted to do it. How did you get through it when you were having all those pockets of not really enjoying it?
I think I just kept moving. I just kept putting one foot in front of the other. Like physically, that's how I got through it. I was just like, just keep going. I mean, there was nothing else I had to do. So let's
Yeah.
just keep moving. But when it got really hard, both physically and mentally, I'd just try and really take like step out of my own way and just say, Tim, you you get to do this. You don't have to do this. This is actually a privilege. Like your body's able, you financially can do it. Everything's here. There's people here to support you. It's just an honor and a privilege to be able to do it. So, just changed the way I was thinking. Like, oh, I have to get up and run today. Well, you don't actually. I just stepped out of my own way and was just like, you get to do this. This is a privilege. This is a holiday. It's an adventure. It's a journey. People would love to have the ability to do this, and that's sort of how I try and think about most things now. To be honest, post finishing, we all life's hard for everyone relatively, and we all whinge, and that's fine. But it's just move on as quickly as possible, and I try to be grateful for the opportunities that I have.
That's what it really sounds like. Your source of, I guess, energy coming from that gratitude place and digging deep into the gratitude. Is that kind of what you used throughout the whole journey, or was there other sort of mental skills that really helped?
Yeah, it's fair. I don't actually really know how to answer that question, because if you were with me as my crew, so I had 39 different mates, and they were all just friends, their own time, their own money, away from their work and families, took leave to come and support me around the world. And if
Legend.
you ask them, all I did was whinge, right? All I did was whinge about being tired or hungry, or the weather was shit, or we weren't eating, or where we were staying, or this and that. And whilst that's probably true, I think I was just secretly loving it. Like I actually loved the grind of it all. Like I loved like being able to push beyond what I thought was a possible barrier, but I was doing it in a way that was sustainable. Like I'm definitely not one of those guys that will talk about, when you think you're done, you're only halfway there,
Mm.
because I want to be moving when I'm 100, right?
Yeah.
I just want to keep moving until my batteries run out. I don't want, I didn't really, I got injured a couple of times, but very, very rarely injured. Haven't really been injured in the lead up or post it, because I listened to my body. So I guess I was just listening to my body the whole time. So whilst there were a few times where I was, physically struggling through injury, it was just a mental game. And like I said, I just keep stepping back and being like, this is pretty cool, and like look around and be like, wowee, look, no other Aussies probably been here, or very few people from outside, people that live here, have ever been here. Like just soak it up and try and the whole challenge the whole time was try and immerse ourselves in the culture as much as we could, speak the language, which we couldn't, but we tried in every country, and talk to all the locals and stay in local motels and eat at restaurants, and really immerse ourselves as much as we could and that was really fun, and a really cool, that was part of the adventure, and that's probably what I miss most from coming home, is that adventure side of things.
Alright, so what was there a key sort of places or a favorite place that you were in terms of the culture and the experience that you had there?
Yeah, well, the ones so growing up, I was a real homebody. Like I'd be really uncomfortable going to friends' places for like sleepovers and stuff as a kid. But that's changed a fair bit as I've grown up and probably matured. And the one thing I really loved on the run was going to places that are really different to home. So I loved like the South America, like Chile and Argentina, and then Eastern Europe, so like Hungary, Serbia, Romania, Bulgaria. Just so different. The culture's different. They have a lot less, but seem to not want for any more, and were really willing to help. And I just loved that, because it was so different and so outside of the comfort zone that I'm used to, that I really, really fell in love fell in love with it, to be honest, like just the simpler way of life. So it was the countries that were far different to what I'm used to is the ones that I enjoyed the most.
So it really was so much more than a run, hey? Like, sounds like you immersed yourself, you had a cultural experience, and I'd imagine like a lot of self discovery on there. Is that right? Like, did you kind of discover yourself as you went?
Yeah, I definitely learned lessons. Yeah, it transcended just a run. Like it started with just being Tim Franklin going for a run, and it ended with hopefully me inspiring people to move. The more people move, hopefully the better the world is, because people moving make better people, make just mum walking down the stairs.
Hey, mum.
Just on the podcast now.
Oh, good.
Uh, so yeah, but I hope so. So it transcended. It became more than just me. The
Yeah.
charity partners that got involved. Yeah. So and I learned a lot about me individually and what I can push myself to do or mentally work through or even logistically work through under fatigue, and how I can operate under duress. But also I learned heaps about the world and like how you don't need things. I just like to do things. I don't need things. People want you to succeed. There is a genuine, the people globally, whether they know you or not, complete strangers want to see people succeed, and that's one of the great things I learned. And then being patient and being uncomfortable in certain situations and throwing yourselves into those situations and becoming comfortable there. I want for less, but I want to give more because I got given so much from people throughout the run that I would love. And I'm still a work in progress because I'm obviously still getting over the run. But yeah, I want to be of service, I suppose, moving forward. That's probably one thing that I definitely learned.
Those are that huge things to take home. Hey, they're not things that you probably expect to pack in your suitcase and take home from.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right. And as you see, like there are people doing like long runs and big runs, and they're getting a whole lot of exposure and social media and all that stuff, and that's awesome, right? Because I mean, anyone who's trying to achieve something outside of the ordinary, I think, is pretty cool. But yeah, for me, it was just such a an eye-opening experience that I learned, and hopefully in some small way that I can educate people on what I learned, and hopefully more people act the way the people around me acted, and then I can leave the world slightly better than when I came into it. I mean, that's a legacy piece, but who knows what that's going to look like.
That's really, really cool. That's such a great note to bring in Peter Baines too with his run because, all of those things that you've learned through all that time, would there be one or two key messages that you'd give to him, like say in the days that he's really struggling doing his 1400-kilometer run across Thailand? What would be your main sort of messaging you'd give to him in those darker times or those struggles, I guess, that he'll be having right now?
Yeah, so I spoke to Pete a couple of weeks ago, or maybe even a bit longer, and I was just like, just make sure you slow down.
Yeah.
Don't force the pace. Don't try and run quickly. Slow down. Look after your body. Listen to your mind. Don't force anything. But then when it does get hard, step back and understand why he's doing it. Obviously, it's a great cause. Why he's doing it. He's got that really good affinity with the place, but also yeah, step back and just smile and just really like I didn't do, to be honest, and just enjoy it. Don't enjoy the finish line. Don't enjoy the journey as much as you do the finish line.
That's good advice. Like, even what you said earlier, I know you said if you were to do it again, you'd want to be present as well, like really present in what you're doing. Do you know now how you would do that? How would you get really present in an adventure like that, or even with Peter, what he's doing?
Well, I think you focus less on the outcome. He's got a goal. He's got dates. He wants to be in certain places at certain times, but that's a guide. Don't let that be the measure of success.
Awesome.
And I think the success is the journey and
Yeah.
what you learn from it. I think just enjoy the journey. Really, really, no matter how hard it is or how fun it is, just enjoy that and learn from that. And then you follow a process and you follow your routine, and you'll get to the finish line. But yeah, and the finish line is awesome, right? Like but that is the very final point of a hell of a lot of hard work. But if you can enjoy that hard work, then the whole experience is going to be far more enjoyable.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And is that something that you learned through wisdom through actually going out and doing it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right. And I think that's probably like I'd be interested to know if anyone sort of from the outset had set a really specific, like hairy and audacious goal, if you will, if they've set that and then despite, having to put themselves in a physical sort of hurt locker, for use of a better term, whether they've been able to enjoy the journey the whole way through. I assume elite athletes wouldn't, like Olympians would have really hard days where they're like, oh, why am I doing this to my body? But then they get to the Olympics and they're like, holy shit, this was worth every second of that, or a football player winning a premiership. It's all worth it. Yeah. I'd be surprised if there's someone that's just gone, oh, I just love the journey from go to woe.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think as much as you can do it, because again, it's about the journey and what Pete's going to get out of it and what he can teach others through it as well.
I love your term there, hairy, audacious goal. That's great. I know even just for my runs, lately this week, I've been thinking about Pete, and there was one hill that I got to at Noosa Park Run. I don't know if you've done the
Yep, 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 yep.
you do the park run, it's all like pretty chilled the whole time, and then you get towards the end, and there's that hill just before you finish. And I just about to walk it, and then I thought, oh, Pete's probably in like 50 k's in on his run right now in Thailand. I'm going to do that hill. You can never really underestimate the power of that, hey, and what sort of inspiration people get from it, and if they've got
Yeah,
that belief.
that's exactly right. And that's the fuel. That was a big fueling to my fire as well. Like, again, I'm just a battler from Brisbane. I'm just Tim Franklin, weekend warrior, just anonymous, really. And then I'd get messages from people around the world saying, "Oh, hey, Timmy, I've been watching your journey, mate. I stopped moving, or I've been sick, or something happened, and then I saw you get up every day and do this. So you know what? I started to run again, and I've just finished my first 5K, and I just wanted to say thanks." And that sort of message is more than anything. That you can't put obviously a dollar value on that sort of impact and change, and that's so humbling. And a real privilege to get as well, that people take their time out of their own life to let you know. I mean, got like a fair few of those messages along the way, and it's yeah, pretty moving, to be honest.
That's awesome. And you mentioned that you had a big crew of mates, and they'd taken their time and they'd gone to all these places to support you and stuff. Red Bull, I think, taken you under their wing. Is that right?
I had one or two mates' companies sponsor me, but it was completely self-funded. So yeah, so I funded basically the entire endeavour. I was really lucky. I had Let's Go Motorhomes provide me with a motorhome across Australia, which was awesome, and then a couple of companies, that my mates run, give me money. But in terms of apparel or anything like that, no, it was all up to me. But yeah, I've got friends that work at Red Bull, so they sort of jumped on and gave me some product and stuff, which was awesome because every now and then a Red Bull was a lifesaver. But yeah, sort of self-funded endeavor,
Yeah.
which I'm really proud of as well, because it was such a skinny budget, and just that my mates helping me. We had just one mate or two. Most I ever had on the road with me was two at a time. For the most part, it was one, and they'd just drive the car up, and I'd run to them and see them, and yeah, away we went, and trying to like decipher languages and book accommodation and get food. Yeah, absolute shit show for a majority of the time, to be honest. But that's also what I'm super super proud of as well. That we just worked together so well, despite like the duress that I was under, and how and they really bought into a we not me sort of terminology, where it was like they just sacrificed themselves because I wasn't at like operating at anywhere near my best, and they put up with my shit. I'd lose my mind every now and then, and they'd cop it. They were really patient, and really lovely, and it was never personal, and yeah, and they just really bought into a we not me mindset, and I'd still be there day one without any of them. So
Yeah.
unbelievable sort of support network, and that's crucial. And Pete's got such a great network around him. And I think when you're achieving any goal, whether it be a physical endeavor like we do, or it could be anything, like finishing, graduating uni, or learning the piano, or being an artist, or whatever your goal is, you can't do it on your own. It takes a village.
So true. Hey.
Be vulnerable and ask for help. People want to help, but you've got to be vulnerable and ask for help. And I've really, I mean, it's probably a strength of mine. I've got no real issue asking people to help me. But again, that's now on me to give that back. And I'll be indebted for those guys forever. And I won't be able to repay what they did for me. Like, it's impossible. Like, they've changed my life because of their selflessness. So it's been awesome. So now I just want to give back to others, basically pay it forward, if you will.
That is a really cool mentality to want to pass that wisdom and experience on to others and inspire other people. I'm really interested. I guess in those like really hard moments, and you had your mates there, and you said maybe you'll only have one at some points and two at other points. Was there anything that they particularly said to you that really helped you in those really hard moments, or was it more impactful just having them just present, just having them there, or is it a mixture of both?
I mean, because they are friends, they sort of, well, most of them are friends. Some of them I've never met before, but they were very good at knowing when to push me, like if I was being lazy or just whinging, or to be like, okay, no, you need to look after yourself.
Mm.
So they sort of assessed the situation and pushed me when I needed to be and said, all right, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. And just by chance, it wasn't designed, but it ebbed and flowed. So I had some really high energy crew followed by some really cool, calm and collected crew. And it's sort of like it went up and down, which was really good energy because sometimes I needed that oomph to keep me moving. And I didn't necessarily enjoy it at the time, but I definitely needed it to keep the momentum going. So they were really good at that. And other times I just needed that. No, Tim, when I was injured specifically, I was injured in Germany, and Jane, my support crew in Germany, she was just really good. She just was like a mother hen, and that's exactly what I needed. She's like, let's not push it. You got a long time to go. Let's just try and get it right. Just rest, sleep for a couple of days, and then we'll get going again. So it was just that yin and yang all the way through, which worked really well. And I also just had a goal of a minimum of 50 kilometers a day. So I just knew that that's the number I was going to get to. There are obviously days where I didn't quite make it, but that was like the general goal. So they just had to keep me moving, and I was sort of self-aware enough to know, all right, I've got to move at this pace to get here by here. So-
Yeah.
And they were
Okay.
just there to guide me and make sure that I just felt comfortable, like, and just tell me, like, just even because I'd be like, oh, have we got accommodation sorted? And they'd be like, yeah, it's all done, mate. This is where we're staying. And they hadn't organised it, but they just knew that if they told me that, it would relax me
Yeah, yeah.
and
It
stuff
sounds
like
like
that.
they knew you well enough to know kind of what you needed without you having to even tell them then.
Yeah, correct. And that was not always the case, but pretty well the case the whole time.
Yeah,
And they
right.
would obviously talk to each other as well when there was a handover. They'd be like, this is what he's like, blah, 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 this is what he needs. So, yeah, they worked really well together as well, especially because a lot of them were strangers to each other.
Gee, okay, that's pretty cool that all
Yeah.
came together like that. And I
Yeah.
watched the video too. It was your mum and was it your uncle, and they
Yeah, my
surprised.
mum and uncle, yeah.
Anyone listening to this, jump on Timmy's Instagram because it's one of the videos there. It's super magical little moment on the topic of support. How much did that mean to you when you saw them there?
Oh, everything. So my mum and dad have given me the greatest opportunity in life that I think anyone could ever possibly have. And every time I've zigged when I should have zagged, they've always been there. No, even if I've done the wrong thing, they've been there to discipline me, but always support me and always make sure that I didn't really want for anything. By no means do we have everything, but there's nothing that I needed that I didn't have. So yeah, education, food on the table, clothes on my back, roof over my head, all that, and just a lot of care. And then through the run, unfortunately, my father got a terminal illness and passed away. And so I'd gone home to say goodbye to him. But that was the first. But I left before he passed away. I went back. He told me to go back and finish the run. So I went back and started running again, and he passed away not long after I left again. And that's the first time I'd seen mum since. So that was, yeah, so her and her brother, so my uncle, they flew to Perth and drove down and surprised me just outside of Denmark in Western Australia, which was, yeah, hyper emotional. I think if you do watch that video, yeah, it's the first time that sort of like it's completely stopped me in my tracks and just that, like it was, 500. I think at that stage it was about 500 days of running, and it was just a lot of pent up emotion, I suppose, and I just released it all in one go. And but yeah, I couldn't have done anything in life without the support of my parents, and I understand that I'm extraordinarily lucky to have two parents for 40 years of my life, but then also two parents that care so much about me.
That's
And then
incredible.
yeah, so yeah, that was sort of yeah, a lot of pent up emotion, and again, it just comes back to the support network that I'm so grateful to have.
It's so beautiful to have the raw backstory of that, and you can really see now like why it was so emotional and so special for you. You can really, really feel that video, and yeah, I mean, your dad, I know that that must have just shaken your whole soul there. And what was that like when you continued that run? How did that sort of shift there?
Yeah, well, what it meant was when I came home that the world record was probably gone. Well, was gone. Whether I would have made it or not, who knows? I mean, I don't want to disrespect the current world record holder to say that's the reason why I didn't get it, but obviously it didn't help. It meant that it was probably impossible target to hit. So I changed it from that end. It was really challenging to get back to start running again, but I think emotionally I was tired, like spending that time with the family, but then obviously also traveling like from the opposite side of the United States, so on the east coast of the US, all the way to Australia and back within sort of 10 days. A lot of travel, a lot of time zone changes, a lot of sitting on planes. So physically, my body was really, really stuck. So trying to get moving again. So that was hardest. And I'm not sure, to be honest, I'm not sure if I processed
Yeah.
the loss, like, because I just went back to work basically. I had a job to do, and I'm not sure if I've still processed it, to be honest. I'm not sure, or maybe I haven't. I just don't realize. But one thing we are as a family is very pragmatic, and I'm very people are born and people live and then people pass away. Like it's what happens, and I'm forever grateful that I've had 40 years, and there's a lot of people that haven't had 40 years on the planet, let alone 40 years of having a parent around. So
Yeah.
again, there's what I mean. Yeah, it's luck. I'm really lucky, like dumb luck or good luck or hard work luck. Who knows? But it's been yeah. So I'm not yeah. I don't even know how to continue to answer that other than yeah. I'm just forever
Absolutely.
grateful.
Yeah, you answered that so beautifully. Your dad kind of really wanted you to go out there and finish it, didn't he? He wanted you to
Yeah,
get out there, finish the job.
yeah. So he was always such a huge supporter, right? Whether it was entering my first ever triathlon, he'd come and support it, or doing my first ever Ironman triathlon, he'd come and support it, or I was doing a marathon, he would always be there. Um,
Legend.
so yeah, so he was always there for me. So it was awesome. But yeah, I mean, and then yeah, losing him, it was yeah. I mean, but yeah, it was always just about he was always there to give us the best possible outcome we could have had, an opportunity we could have at life. So yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm lucky.
And that's like you said earlier about you can't put a price on, the people who like support you. You can really hear that. You can't with dad and mum, and it sounds like you've got a really beautiful supportive family that was behind you, and it's really nice to hear that. And something I guess we can all reflect on, and everyone who's listening to is like really honing in on gratitude for your supports and who's really there and who's actually genuinely backing you and genuinely really actually cares selflessly, like who's there in those moments.
Yeah, and I think you got to really work at those relationships. And I don't think I'm by no means am I perfect, but I really try and give people the time, like people that want to like talk or whatever. I want to be the person they can call, and I'll listen and help where I can. I'm not always there because sometimes I can't be. Sometimes I've got my own shit going on, like we all do. But just to do my best to help others, I guess. I met a really lovely bloke by the name of Tommy Herschel who does this Find Your Feet program, and he works a lot with like kids and sort of mental health in that adolescent space. And one of his comments was, it's impact over income.
So
And that's really cool too. Yeah, yeah. I'm by no want to be like sitting here preaching, but yeah, that's just what I just want to simplify life, to be honest, and give back as much as I can, and have as still have as much fun as I can, and go on as many adventures as I can as well, and bring people along for the ride.
That's great. Are you feeling that sort of emanate through your day-to-day life now and through your work and, all that sort of stuff? Are you keeping that philosophy strong now?
Yeah, trying to. I must say, since I've been home, really hard. Like, still got a lot like brain fog, like
Yeah.
sitting down and replying, as you very well know, trying to get an email response out of me, and Amanda especially would know. Getting a response out of me is really challenging. I've never been great at it, but I've never been this bad at it because I'm still trying to process and get back into and be. I really miss the adventure. So
Yeah.
being motivated by not mundane life, because my life's anything but mundane, and I love what's going on, but sitting down at a computer, really trying to focus for any length of time, even to a simple reply to an email, has been really challenging.
Hmm.
So yeah, I want to really keep going with the adventures and the public speaking I love, and coaching and all that sort of stuff I love doing, and I want to keep that up. But I'm mindful that you've also got to live, and there's like life administration that needs to occur. And so I'm just trying to, I'm sort of giving myself a little bit of a grace period sort of through to the end of this year. But then once 2025 starts, I've really got to switch back on and try and be the best at that as I can be.
And how are you finding actually allowing yourself to do that? Like actually switch off? Like, are you trying to be as guilt free as possible and like allowing that recovery period and that transition, or like what's that like?
No,
'Cause I'm sure
yeah,
people sort of have that too.
yeah, I know I'm probably pretty terrible at that. Like I finished on like the 30th of June, and like on the 1st of July, I was all right, what's next? All right, how do we maximize this? From a media standpoint, a social media standpoint, a commercial standpoint. All right, let's go, let's hustle. And I probably didn't ever sit back and just be like, wow,
Mm.
that was awesome. And I probably still haven't done that, to be honest, because life's just been hectic. But I'm taking a few days over Chrissy, where hopefully I just sit back and go, holy hell, what a year, like what a journey, what a couple of years, and be kind to myself. And I preach it to everyone to do that, but I'm definitely not the best at it. And I don't think many people are, right? We are our own harshest critics a lot of the time. But yeah, and I think that's what drives people to do, to be more, because they are critical of where they're at. But yeah, I think there is a kindness that needs to kick in at some stage. But yeah, I probably haven't sat back and reflected on the journey or the outcome, and I haven't got the guys to help me in and celebrate with them intimately, just like with us yet, which is what I want to do as well. But yeah, I think it's, I stand on stage and I tell people, to celebrate success, because everything should be celebrated, because who doesn't like a party? But in saying that, I still haven't, I'm still not practicing that as well as I probably should or could be doing.
Yeah, and that sounds like a perfect opportunity to do over those few days for you. And I think it's, yeah, again, like super cool that you're being so raw about it. So people actually hear the honest truth. And I know Pete's probably going to, really struggle as well on the other side of, something so huge that you plan so much for, and it takes everything out of you. You go to the most extreme places in yourself, like mentally and physically, and then come out of that and expect to go into, like, I guess, normal day to day life and just operate as a normal human again.
And yeah, and that's one thing again. Like, I came out of it and I was pretty terrible. There were days where I was really low. Like, I was like, I just lost. I had such a simple, specific goal for so long. Such a simple purpose was move as far as I can. It wasn't easy, but it was very simple. And then I lost that, and I was like, well, what's next? What's my purpose? What do I got to do? And that was really hard. But again, same thing. I allowed myself to be vulnerable, asked people for help, and I told people on social media that I was struggling, and I just got support back. And my support network was there, and they listened. And they might have been thinking, carry on, but they listened. They didn't have the answers, but they just listened, and I thought that was awesome as well. But yeah, definitely vulnerable, and it's okay to ask for help and be vulnerable. Though that's life. We've always grown up in like multi generations living in in the family home, and only recently has that changed. And I think there's a pushback now to it's okay to ask for help, especially men aged like 20 to 40. It's our number one killer.
Absolutely.
So ask for help and be there to listen. You don't have to give answers. People just want to be heard.
That's really cool, really relatable to anyone like going through some sort of adjustment in your life or some sort of difficulty in your life, and draw from this and draw from this advice, because we're all human at the end of the day. And Timmy, you had to learn that throughout your journey, that reaching out for support is so extremely crucial. And I think, being vulnerable means you do have to drop that ego, and you do have to sort of like take those layers off a little bit, and that does expose you and things like that. But yeah, sometimes people will surprise you, hey, and I'm sure that's what you sort of experience there. People kind of all being there for you and wrapping around you.
Yeah, absolutely. On the pursuit of anything or just generally living. And I mean there's literally a day called Are You Okay Day, right? And it's okay not to be okay. Like it's
Yeah.
okay. You can't be perfect every day. No one is, right? No one's humming all the time. I think people that know me would think I'm probably one of the more positive people that ever meet, but there's definitely periods where I need others to help me because I burn my social battery so much that I do need to sit back and recharge it. And that's fine. It's okay. Like and that's probably where I'm learning the most. It's okay to disappear
Yeah,
and recover and come back better and stronger.
absolutely. Like just replenish those stores
Yep.
again. Like you said before, listening to your body and your mind, hey, and just
Yep.
knowing those cues. For everyone listening, but also for Pete, because I know, of course, it's super normal, and there's so many people with you too, Timmy, that you finish something so huge like that, and of course you're going to go through a bit of a slump period, and probably like almost like a surreal period of like, what the heck did I just do?
Yeah.
Letting it sink
Yeah.
in, and you can't even put a time frame on it. And so I
Yeah,
think,
that's right. That's right. You say, oh, I'll take 6 months and then I'll be back. But who knows, right? Who
yeah.
knows? I mean, I'm running again. I'm starting to feel good again. All that sort of stuff. So physically and mentally, I'm pretty good, I think. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, who knows? I don't know what normal is necessarily anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know whether my normal has changed.
Yeah, you might have just like some sort of higher bar or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's just slightly different. I don't. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, that's cool. So you're doing the Sydney. Are you doing the Sydney Marathon, or are you
yeah,
part
no,
of
I'll be
it?
doing the Sydney Marathon next year. Yep. So I did it. I did it this year, just after I got back. But yeah, so I've entered for 2025, so that should be a bit of fun.
Wicked.
So that should be good, and I'll do the Gold Coast as well.
Yep.
And I'm doing a longer run over in New Zealand in the end of February as well. So I still love it. Like I love it. Like I'll never lose the love for it. I just like, as I said, I just love the feeling. The way it makes me feel like I'm free. I'm fit. When I'm running, I'm the best version of myself, right? And that's what I would love everyone to do. Find what they're passionate about and do it to the best of their abilities, and then they become the best version of themselves. And if they're fit, that helps extraordinarily because it's such a preventative method for any, illness, right? But if people are fit and doing what they're passionate about, then they're going to be the best version of themselves. And if we're all the best version of ourselves, what a place to live.
Absolutely, that's awesome. As much as I guess you say it, like, you're just the weekend warrior, but I do think that it does take something special to run around the world. And I think for some people that's super out of reach. It's such a big goal. But I think you've done such an awesome job today at just normalizing and humanizing different people's heart, and normalizing and humanizing the challenges that we have, like, or that we choose to do, like you did. You chose to do it. There's a lot out there on people saying you've got to push like extraordinary levels of hard, and you've got to push yourself to the extremes to really accomplish something or to succeed. So for the everyday person, what sort of advice would you have for them to, I guess, take that start or jump into the deep end for their level of hard?
Well, I think you're never going to be ready. You're never going to be ready to start.
So
There'll
true.
always be there'll always be something that you'll be like, you won't have enough money, you're not fit enough, you're not talented enough. You'll never be ready. So just start.
Awesome.
And my first point is just to start and then enjoy the journey as much as you can. Leave your ego at the door. And by that, I mean, it's not you thinking you're the best, it's you worrying about what other people think because it's your life and your journey. So leave your ego at the door and you do you. But when you are doing it, do it to the best of your ability
So cool.
and want to do it for the rest of your life. So that negates that burnout. It's
Mm.
okay to sit back and reset and you know, you don't have to do hard things, like this mentality of you must do hard things. Well, they can be challenging. You don't have to be hard. So just do challenging things and challenge yourself, and that's where you'll grow as a person. That's where people around you will grow. So and then finally, geez, I've rabbited on here, but finally, be patient. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. So just be patient, enjoy the process, and celebrate the shit out of it when you get there.
There are like so many amazing wisdom points there and insights, and I'm gonna re-listen to you after because there's some really awesome points for everyone to listen here. I'm sure Pete will be listening to this when he's running along and loving what you got to say as well. People will want to follow you on more, or some people might want you to come and speak. What's the best way they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the best way to get in touch with me is or follow me is on Instagram. So at Timmy R Franklin is my handle, and then the best way to contact me is via email. Well, I say that the best way to contact me is via email. So it's just Tim at timrunstheworld.com. So that's all one word, Tim Runs the World. So Tim at timrunstheworld.com. But yeah, that's what I've loved doing since I've been home, like corporates, conferences, kids, high schools, all of it. It's been awesome, and hearing other people's journeys and what other people's goals are, and launching into them with them as well. So it's been great, to be honest. I've loved it.
That's so good to hear. Like it's been so much more than just a run. It's just so much for you. You've taken so much from it and giving so much back to people. Lastly, guys, for those listening in that don't know too much about Hands Across Water as well, Hands Across Water, you can follow along on the website or on Instagram, or follow Peter Baines directly, who's doing the 1,400-kilometer journey as we speak. So yeah, he's really trekking along there and trying to finish that 1,400 Ks in 26 days, and he's doing it all for kids. So if anyone wants to make any sort of donation, please do, because Pete's trying to track along to $1 million, which is incredible, and it's going to make a huge difference to kids over there. So, follow along on his journey, and all the best with your goals, anyone who's listening, and I'm hoping you take some insight out of Timmy's wisdom today. So yeah, thank you, Timmy. It's an absolute privilege to have you on here and to sort of pick your brain and hear about your journey.
No, thanks so much for having me, Dom. It's been awesome.